Hey everybody, it's Michael Watson. We're back for episode number 10 of our Common Things, Uncommon Ways podcast series. Very excited to have you here. Hopefully you've had a chance to read all or listen to all of 9 of the podcasts prior to this, especially number 9. We had the indomitable, the inimitable, and the incisive Jordan Farr as a guest on paying your dues. Jordan told us all about his story going from starting out in his teens, right after high school, and he actually started much earlier than that, and to becoming one of the preeminent cabinet and countertop and flooring specialists for multifamily in the United States, along with his partner, Jared Isom. So I wanted to share with you my story today about paying dues and how I got to where I am, because I'll tell you what, it's not as easy as it thinks, as it looks, but it isn't as hard as it may seem either. So I wanted to go over paying your dues. What do you got to do to get to where you want? So first thing I wanted to do is go through the process whereby this would happen. And I'm very, very excited to share this process with you and tell you a little bit about my background and my story and how I got to where I am. So the first thing we want to do in creating a roadmap to where we want to be is pay our dues where we're at. Let me say that again. The first thing that you want to do, if you have a vision of what you want to be, an idea, or the next frontier, I like to call it, of where you want to go, you have to master where you're at. And we'll talk about these steps more importantly. And the reason I know this is, first of all, I look back over my career and it's easy to understand why I'm where I'm at and what I'm able to do now because of all the things that I've had to do to lead up to it. And in many cases, I did things that I didn't want to do and I learned them and mastered them. So now I don't have to do them anymore. And they gave me the skill sets and the understanding to do the things that I want to do. So master the things that you don't want to do to become an expert and to have doors unlocked for you for the things that you do want to do. So one of the ways this is most evident for me is I'm a ground up construction multifamily expert. We also do mixed use projects as well. We've done a lot of things across the country. And while this is more of a business type podcast that would apply to anyone and everyone, our specialty here at Summa Terra Ventures is development, entitlement, construction, financing, capital raising, partnership creations, all kinds of cool things along those lines. But we wanted to make sure that we shared with you how we got here, because whatever it is for your dream, that your dream is, you can get there too. Now, the place where this is so stark for me, where this reminder is so stark and so consistent, is I love to share everything that I know with anyone that's interested in learning. It's one of the reasons for the podcast here. And we do educational trainings every year or two, and some of them are pretty significant trainings on how to become a ground up developer for multifamily and mixed use. And I consider large multifamily and mixed use projects as kind of the PhD of real estate investing. So a lot of guys that flip homes, there's a lot of guys that do projects, and we do these trainings and we might have 50, we might have 100, and we might have 250 people show up at a particular training. We do them in Salt Lake City and sometimes in Dallas as well. And people show up and people come up to me regularly and say, hey, I'm here to learn how to become a developer. And I said, great, you're in the right place. I'm going to give you the starting blueprint here. So at least you know the roadmap of how to get there. And we'll give you as much the information as we can on how to get you there along the way. And it's really interesting to me to see these guys show up guys that have flipped a house or two. They flipped a house, they made a profit, they flipped another house, they broke even, they flipped another house, they made a profit. And all of a sudden they want to take down a 250 unit apartment complex. They want to find the land, they want to learn the entitlement skills, they want to get the development in place, they want to hire a builder, they want to get the financing in place, put the capital together, manage the construction, do the whole thing. And I'll tell you what, that's the PhD level. And in my head, I kind of think, man, that's really respectable that you want to do this. And I'm going to teach you every single thing that I know. But the jump from flipping a house or two, or flipping 10 houses, or doing some wholesaling and jumping all the way to developing a 100-unit apartment complex, that's a massive jump. And there's more logical steps that need to happen to get there. And we call that paying your dues. Paying your dues. So if you want to create a roadmap for anything in your life, and not just to become a developer, not just to become a ground up construction expert, not just to learn entitlement, if there's anything that you aspire to in your life that feels out of reach right now, it's probably because you haven't paid your dues. Let me say that again. If you have a goal that seems out of reach, it's probably because you haven't paid your dues that are necessary along the way to get there. So what I want to do is kind of give you a roadmap, a blueprint. So from the 30,000 foot level of how we can look at that. And then after that, I'm going to share with you my story, how I got to where I'm at today and what dues I had to pay along the way. Pretty cool little story. And I'll share that here with you in just a minute. But I've got a roadmap to get to where you want to go. There's some steps and they're very easy and logical steps. And I'm going to go through them with you right now. Number one, you have to have a vision that's so powerful in your mind that it becomes certainty. Listen, I knew from the first day that I got introduced to multifamily that I was going to be a multifamily titan. I knew that I was going to make it happen, that I was going to do whatever it took. And I didn't know what those things were. And the beauty of this is I started in my 23rd year. I was 23 years old, not just a couple of months from my 24th birthday. I started, and there were a lot of people that told me, you can't do that. You can't do that. Notice the word do. You can't do that. That's really interesting when you compare you can't do that to the word dues. Do something equals paying your dues. Do something. One of my favorite sayings is if you're going to make a mistake, don't make a mistake sitting around. Don't make a mistake doubting yourself. Don't make a mistake being unsure. Make a mistake doing something. Err on the side of action. It's one of my favorite sayings that I've come up with. Err on the side of action. Do something. So the first thing you have to do is paint a picture in your mind exactly where you want to go. And I tell people all the time, listen, you can't get to where you want to go because you can't see it clearly enough. You don't have a powerful enough vision for it. Now, this vision speak, man, that's only going to do so much for you. It's easy to stay up at night and say, oh, I want to build the Empire State Building, the next version of it. And man, you know what, where I'm sitting right now, a skyscraper would be quite a jump for us. And could we do it? Man, if we hired the right people, probably, but that's quite a jump for us. But you have to have that crystal clear, written, mindful idea of where you're going. And you have to draw a line in the sand. I'm going to get there no matter what. And say, I'm going to get there no matter what it takes. I'm going to get there. We call that the next frontier. So what is your next frontier? Where are you headed? What do you want to be? How are you going to get there? So that's that first thing, is to have that vision in place. And again, the vision without anything else is worthless. So this is kind of hard for me to talk about visions because there's so much practical effort and work and things that have to happen after that. So get that. That's step number one. Number two, then you have to have a roadmap to get there. Now, just because you want to be, for example, a multifamily developer or a multifamily contractor. I get contractors in here all the time. I get subcontractors in here all the time. I get all kinds of people. That was the unique thing about Jordan Farr in our last episode. That guy started installing cabinets. Then he started bringing his own product in and having it manufactured and brought in. He was supplying and installing, and he started a business. And he was in and around these financial assets that were so amazing. So often he saw, hey, gosh, one of the next frontiers for me is to be an owner. And the frontier wasn't just to go right to ownership. It was, I want to be a capital partner. So one of the things that you could do to be in these projects and see, drive shotgun and understand this more fully is put some capital in and participate as a partner. Here at Summa Terra Ventures, we don't typically use investors. We use partners, people that are coming expected to participate and learn and operate in the business. Each one of our projects is a business. So really, really cool stuff there. So you have to see the vision. Step one, you have to have that vision, that next frontier. The next thing is you have to know the steps. Now, if you don't know the steps, that's a problem, right? How are you going to go do the steps if you don't know that? So you have to model that from somewhere else. You have to get that education, you have to get that training. So whatever your vision is, whatever your goal is, you have to have all the vision in place, and then all the steps leading up to the vision for that to happen. So you're going to want to get a coach, you want to get a model, you want to get a partner, you want to come in and participate in deals like these so that you can see firsthand how it's done. This is how it's done. So for me, for example, when we run a coaching program, we've alluded to this a number of times throughout the first 10 podcasts that I do coaching programs. I coach, and the coaching students that come in and work with me aspire to be developers. They aspire to be real estate investors. They aspire to learn entitlement skills. And they literally get to have access to our projects, to us, to ask questions. We have weekly Zoom calls. And this is a chance for them to learn what the steps are between where you're at right now and where that next frontier for you is. This is the gap here where you need to pay your dues. Here's where you're at. Here's where you want to be. Get the vision, learn the steps, and then pay your dues along the way. Pay your dues along the way. So that's the next one. Number 3 is master the moment that you're in. You're going to hear a podcast someday down the future. We have one of the mantras we have here at Summa Terra Ventures is master your moment. If you will master the moment that you're in, where you're standing, you will be enlightened and directed and guided to the next moment. So you have to master what it is you're doing now. Now, in mastering this, so let's say here's where you're at and you're aspiring to this goal here, and there's 7 or 8 key steps between. Master this moment, and the next step doesn't seem so daunting. Master this step, and the next step doesn't seem so daunting. Master this moment, and maybe we pick up a partner here, and the partner comes in with a skill set that helps us master this, this, and this. And over time, as we master the place that we're standing, we get to the place that we want to be. So we have to model that and get those steps started. Now, one of my favorite scriptures is found in Matthew 19:20. A young man approached the Savior. And one of the key parts of verse 20 in chapter 19 was the statement, "What lack I yet?" In some instances, that shows some humility. In this case, it might not have showed as much humility as we could, but we have to have that mindset at all times. Where do I need to be better? Where do I need to be stronger? How can I do more? How can I achieve faster? Who do I need to add to my team? Who has the skill set that I need that I can either hire or partner with, or I can hire as a third party? So step number 4 is to be humble. So our 4th step after the 3rd step of mastering steps along the way is we have to be humble. We have to be teachable. We have to be learning all the time. And one of the things that I think that is interesting to me is, again, I go to these seminars. I have lots of people that approach me outside of the seminar setting, and I start talking to them about some of the things that they need to do. And you can just tell either, number one, their ego is big enough that they can't hear it, or their ego is big enough that they're not going to do it and they think it's beneath them. So really interesting part of this is to be humble. If you're not growing, you have a humility problem. If you're not growing, it's not always going to be just an education problem, a support problem, an understanding problem. You may have a humility problem. Give that some thought. So step number 4 is to be humble. Again, step number 5, I've kind of alluded to already, is you can hire and delegate some of these things along the way. And this is one of the things that we have as a saying here at Summa Terra Ventures. Listen, I want to be anything and everything that you need that you think you lack. Now, notice how I said that. We want to offer services here for whatever it is that you think you lack. And my goal and our hope that we spawn developers, that we turn developers out, my hope is that people come in and say, gosh, between where I'm at right here, I flipped a few homes, I own a duplex and a 4-plex, and I want to build a 40-plex. And there's a massive chasm here. And gosh, here's the 7 or 8 steps along the way. And I could see this one and I could do this one. And I know someone that can do this one, but these other steps. Summa Terra Ventures will be everything that you think you're lacking. You need an entitlement team? We'll do entitlement for you. You need a construction management team? We'll do construction management for you. You need to understand contracts? We'll do contracts for you. You need a consultant that will come in on the project and just run over the top and stand in the background and answer any question at any time or every time that it's needed. We'll do that for you. There's all kinds of cool things. You need someone to sit down with you at the banks and the finance groups and the finance brokers. We'll do that. We'll do that for you. So where will be the missing piece, whatever you think the missing piece is. And notice how I'm kind of taking away excuses, right? Not only do I want to run a great business here and spawn developers, that's my hope, is we spawn developers, but we also want to put in your mind, gosh, there's things I can delegate. There's things I can hire to. That's step number 5. Some of these steps can be delegated or hired to. Operate in your strengths and hire to or delegate to your weaknesses. Here at Summa Terra Ventures, we've got an amazing team, unbelievable employees. We work very well together. But I tell these guys, I remind these guys, look, 7 years ago when I started this company, I was by myself. I did all of your jobs by myself. Now, we didn't have the volume, right, of business. We didn't have the number of projects. We didn't have the footprint that we have now. But I did all of that. And as I did that, there are some parts that made me miserable. For example, accounting makes me miserable. Can I do it? Sure. Have I done it before? Lots. Do I enjoy it at all? No. And I believe that if you're doing something that you master and understand so that you have a complex understanding of what you're doing, but you don't enjoy it, it stunts your ability to do the things that you should be doing. So literally, I've told my staff here, as we grew from me alone to where we're at now, I literally started saying to myself, what are the things that I've mastered and I can manage from a distance or from a 10 or 20 or 30,000 foot level, and I can hire those out. And therefore, someone else is doing them. I'm expertly managing that person, but I'm not in the weeds on something that chokes my productivity, chokes my excitement and enthusiasm for this business. I'll tell you what, writing checks and paying bills, reconciling accounts, I can do that. I absolutely have done that many, many times. Do I enjoy it at all? Not one bit. Does it stunt the other areas of the business for me, emotionally, mentally, and intellectually? Absolutely. I can't be in a creative place when I'm doing accounting. I just can't do it. So there's other areas that we do that as well. So again, hire to these places, hire, bring in great people. You can do third-party work. You can do all kinds of cool things. Next thing, step number 6, this is the tough one. You have to forcefully, through hard work, dedication, study, and effort, change your skill set. And I say that because if you want to change your skill set, you don't just wake up one day and have a new skill set. Most of us in our mid to late 20s, our brains get pretty hardwired. They get pretty set in where we're at. You know the old adage, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So it's very hard for you to think differently, to act differently, and to become a different person. And that's crucial because let me tell you a little secret, which most of you may know, at least subconsciously. We don't get in this life what we want. We get what we are. So we don't get what we want. We get who we are. So you have to become something different to get something that you don't have. And that's the whole point of paying your dues. The point of paying your dues is to become someone better, to become a unique, elevated, improved version of yourself through hard work, dedication, skill. And I say you have to force this because, again, you get your brain wired a certain way, and it's very hard to be malleable enough and nimble enough emotionally, mentally, intellectually to grow and expand. So that's where the hard work comes in, because that hard work is kind of the refiner's fire. That humility of what lack I yet, along with hard work, puts the refiner's fire in your place. And that's where the growth happens. So that growth happens. So you have to forcefully work through this. That's step number 6. Step number 7. Again, I just alluded to this. So I was so excited. I got ahead of myself. You have to become someone different. The guy that flipped a few homes over here is not going to take down a 100-unit apartment complex. That's not going to happen. You have to take these incremental steps along the way and build a new person, build a new skill set, build a new understanding. And more importantly, and I haven't said this yet, you have to build a new confidence in here. Listen, if you're standing here and you want to do this, you don't have confidence in this. Don't tell me you're confident you can do this. Tell me you're confident you're going to get there, but don't lie to yourself and say you're confident you can do this. You're not confident you can do this. And I can prove this to you. We have our biggest project we're doing right now is 750 plus units on 27 acres in Texas, right? 750 units. This is going to be somewhere upwards of 170, 180, 190 million dollar project, depending on what rates are and cap rates are and rents are in a couple of years when this is done. I never in my wildest dreams would have thought I would have done something. And yet it was an effortless progression for me to get there once I got to where I'm at. So if I want to do this and I'm standing right here, then look at the gap right here. I want to do this and I'm standing right here. That's a bigger gap. So we have to become someone different. And in fact, I'll tell you this fact that's interesting to me. I got started in real estate in the end of my 23rd year. I was a junior at Brigham Young University, got started in real estate, and it took me 10 years. 10 years of buying and selling real estate, owning a franchise, being a builder, doing a lot of cool things I'm going to tell you here in just a minute. It took me 10 years to do anything bigger than a 12-plex. 10 years. Now, if you brought me a 12-plex right now, what do you think my response would be? Hey, Mike, I want to sell you this piece of land and you could do a 12-plex there. How do you think that'd go over with me? Right? Gosh, I'd learned a long time ago, and this is interesting. If I could do a 12-plex and I could do it masterfully, I could do 20. I could do 50. If I can do 50, unbelievably, I can do 80. If I can do 80, I probably can do 120. If I can do 120, I can do 250. If I can do 250, there's really not any limits on what I can do after that. Notice how we just paved the way to the end goal with steps along the way, successful steps along the way. And the point here of number 7 is you can't be the guy that did this or the gal that did this and expect to do this. And this is one of the other things that I mentioned in the podcast with Jordan last week was the skill sets that you have, the education you have, the knowledge that you have is oftentimes the reason that you got to where you are. But it also can be the ceiling that stops you from growing from here to here. You have to constantly be learning. You have to constantly be changing. You have to be someone different. You have to become a better version of yourself. And if you're willing to do that, that's step 7. And that's going to, as you become a better person, well, then now you're able to do this. You become a better person. And I hate the word attract. And now you're attracting the results here. And I don't like that word attract because attract feels like you're just sitting around and you're some magnet and something showed up in your life. Now, the things don't show up in your life. You take a baseball bat to your life. You get aggressive with your life. You go after your life. You hunt the vision that you have. You hunt the next frontier that you have. You hunt the opportunity that's blocking you. Whatever blocks you, whatever says to you, you can't do something, then you must do it. If you don't feel like you can do it, you must do it. You attack it. You're relentless. You're vicious. You're aggressive. You're incisive. You cut through whatever stands in your way. And that intention, that emotion, that aggressiveness is what is oftentimes the foundation for many of us to be someone different. And for me, again, understanding this is what I wanted to be and this is where I was. One of the things that I did often, to go back to the vision there on the step, was one of the things that I did often was stated, I want to be this over here. And one of the things I learned early was that people would tell me, you can't do that. You can't do that. Mike, you can't build a 50-plex. Mike, you can't develop a piece of land. Mike, you can't afford to qualify for a construction loan. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough history. Your tax returns aren't sufficient enough. And every single time someone told me what I couldn't do, that became the rocket fuel for exactly what I was going to do. What I was going to do. In fact, for the first, in my 20s, into my 30s, and I still have this gear now, somebody wants to look at me and tell me what they can't do. My slogan is watch me. I actually made a t-shirt a long time ago and all it said was watch me. Watch me. Watch me. I can do this. Watch me. And I'll tell you where that came from here in just a minute. So again, step 7 is you want a different outcome. You have to be a different person. So let's just run through those real briefly again for a recap so you can hear them all at once. To get where you want to go, you have to have a vision so powerful that you could see it. That's your next frontier. Next, you have to create and see a model, or you have to get modeling from someone, a roadmap to get there. Step 3, you have to master the steps along the way, paying your dues. And the phrase is master this moment. Master where you're standing and the next moment becomes easier. Master this moment. It's like lifting weights. And if I want to bench press a certain weight and I can't do it right now, I've got to get there incrementally. Yeah, I've got to get there. And as I lift this weight and this weight and this weight and this weight over the 3 months, 6 months, year, whatever the difference is, and I eat right and I work out hard, this weight that I wanted to lift over here isn't quite so heavy anymore as I get there. Step number 4, be humble. What lack I yet? Be humble. What lack I yet? Step number 5, delegate, hire, partner, get coaching. Delegate, hire, partner, get coaching. Step 6, forcefully, through hard work, dedication, study, you have to create different skill sets. Every new skill set you bring will bring you the opportunity for a new outcome. Let me say that again. Every new skill set that you develop will bring you the opportunity to get a new outcome. And lastly, step 7, you're not going to get a different outcome until you become a different person. So let's talk now about the practical application for this for me. So I'll tell you what, when I was a young guy, I wanted to get started in real estate and I didn't quite have all these tools in front of me, didn't have this understanding, but I did have a ferocious and indomitable will, and I wasn't going to be told no. So I decided to get into real estate. And I want to share with you now. And the reason I tell you I didn't know what the steps were now, because now I can take a look backwards and I can see very clearly the steps that I took, the things that happened, the places and parts that were unique, the things that I lacked, how I overcame those, where I stepped from. So again, if I'm standing here and I want this over here, I can look back and see all these steps and all the places that I, wait for it, paid my dues. I paid my dues along the way. And another way to say that again is I did things that I didn't want to do so that I could do things that I wanted to do, that I didn't want to do. So unbelievable process. Now I want to tell you my story. So I was just finishing my sophomore year, getting into my junior year at Brigham Young University. My parents lived in Southern California. For those of you that don't know, BYU's in Provo, Utah. And I came up here to school and my parents called. One day, my mom called and said, "Hey, Mike, we think you kids," me, my brother and sister were all at BYU at the time. "We think you kids might end up staying up there in Utah." Our family was originally from Utah, though we had been living in California at that time. We're thinking you might stay up there. My mom called and said, "Hey, find a realtor and take that realtor and tell them we want a lot. We want to buy a building lot somewhere in and around BYU in Utah County," which is the area that this is, "so that if you guys end up staying up there, we'll have a place to build a house and we'll move back to Utah. We wouldn't mind being back in Utah if you guys stay up there. We're not staying in California if you guys don't come back." And none of us did, by the way, so it was a smart move. So I take out the yellow pages back when we used phone books and pull up a realtor. Happened to stumble across the gal. You want to talk about inspiration, man, being ready and guided to the right steps in the right places when you have a good heart in a good place. Pulled up this gal, called her, said, "Hey, my parents are looking for a lot." She said, "Yeah, I'll help them. Absolutely." Well, little did I know, this gal owned over 50 homes and she owned a few apartments. She did property management. She was a realtor and a broker, and she had quite a great business going. And I'll tell you, she called my parents and in no time flat talked them into buying 4plexes, 6plexes, 8plexes, multifamily properties. And I'm sitting here watching this gal that was supposed to find the lots, and she's starting to sell them apartment complexes. She's doing the property management. Now, at the time I was mowing lawns at BYU on campus from 6 in the morning till 10. I'd go to classes and do homework and do it the next day, making minimum wage, which at that time was $4.75 an hour. And I said to my parents, "Hey, can I come along and look at the properties with you and see these things?" And my parents said, "Yeah, absolutely, come along." So I noticed this gal was making $3,000 and $5,000 and $7,000 and $10,000 commissions on these deals she was selling. And then she was making monthly income managing the properties, collecting the rents, doing light maintenance, handling all of the things that we're doing, renting up their apartments. And I was immediately enamored. I had been studying to get a degree in psychology. I had hoped to follow that with either a master's degree in organizational behavior or a law degree, right? But I tell you what, I got the real estate bug and it was over at that point. We had done a few things. My parents closed a couple of properties. I'd been in and around the properties. I'd walked them. I walked the ones they wanted to buy. I walked the ones they didn't want to buy. And all of a sudden I was hooked. So I announced to family dinner one day, "Hey, I'm going to get my real estate license. I'm going to start being a realtor, and I'm going to get in the property business." And my dad turned to me and he said, "Well, that's great, son, if you want to get your real estate license, but just know you will not be our agent. Just because you get a license doesn't mean you're qualified to be an agent for us." And I was like, "Oh, okay. All right. If that's how it's going to be, now I'm getting my license for sure." And in my head, I said to my dad, "I'm coming for you. You got a few properties. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. You don't tell me what I'm qualified for and what I'm not qualified for." And by the way, was my dad right? Sure. He was right. This lady, who was a wonderful, wonderful agent, was light years ahead of me. And she was a better agent at that time than I was. But this was rocket fuel for me. So here I was, I established a vision. I want to become a realtor. Okay. And then the other vision, part of this vision is I want to buy and own real estate properties. Now, probably the greater vision at that time is I want to own real estate properties. I want to be a real estate agent here. So getting a real estate license and operating as a real estate agent was a step along the way from where I was at to where I wanted to be. And I'll tell you what, I never got into real estate as a real estate agent to do clients, to handle clients, to take care of clients, to take a buyer around on Saturday to 10 homes and see if they were going to end up buying a house. That's not why I got into real estate. I didn't get into real estate to be someone on the sidelines watching someone else buy and sell real estate. I got into real estate to be the client, to become my own best client, which was a slogan in the first bit of training that we did early in my career, becoming your own best client. So I got my real estate license, started poking around, and I said to my parents, look, if you're not going to let me be the realtor, at least let me be the property manager. I could do that. So I talked them into that. I would get a monthly fee for the 4-plexes, 6-plexes, 8-plexes. But here's the cool part about this. I started learning the financials. I started learning to see what it would take to buy the loans that would take. I would show up to the loans, the loan meetings, the lender meetings, the closings. I started watching this, and I turned in really detailed reports. Even back in the 90s, I turned in really detailed reports monthly on the assets. I watched what the difference in the creation of net operating income, either through the promulgation of future income or the reduction of expenses, and what a huge, huge, huge impact that had on the value of the buildings. Net operating income is the goal, man. Equity that forces and creates equity. If you're not a student of equity, you'll never have any. Let me say that again. If you're not a student of how to create, promulgate, enhance, and create equity, you'll never have any in real estate. Learn that early. So I started becoming an expert property manager. In fact, I started creating a small stable of clients. And as word got around, one of the things about property management is there's not very many good property management firms out there. It's just really tough to find a good property manager. So as I started doing this, more and more people started coming to me for property management skills. Well, that led very easily for me to start saying, I'd go out and find someone. I had a stable of clients and I had X number of buildings that I was managing. And I'd go find a new building and I'd say, hey, property management clients, you see the job that I'm doing for you now. Now I'm going to be your realtor and here's an opportunity. And I dropped this in front of my clients and I said, here's what it looks like on the MLS. Here's what the offering is. Here's what I could do to the building. Here's what I can change the incomes. Here's what I can do with the rents. I'm interested in representing you guys. And if you want to hire me as your realtor to do the deal, then I will absolutely manage it for you. And they couldn't get enough. We created this hungry buying audience. So by paying my dues as a property manager, I immediately had the opportunity to pay my dues to become an expert realtor. So I started buying and selling multifamily properties inside of my portfolio. My parents, by the way, stood back and watched this. Some of these guys were friends of theirs. Some of them were relatives. Some of them were referrals. And my dad, who had so boldly said a year and a half ago, you're not qualified to be our agent. I was providing expert level services to people around them, but not them. And I wasn't offering them these deals either. So I'd find a new 4-plex and I'd get my stable of clients and I'd tell them, oh yeah, so-and-so bought this property and I'm managing it for them now. And here's what we're going to do with it. And oh yeah, so-and-so bought this property over here. And eventually my parents, I don't remember the timeline on it, said back to me, well, why aren't you offering those properties to us? How come you're just offering those to other people? And I said, you said I wasn't qualified to be your agent. So I'm not qualified to be your agent. So I'm not going to offer you any properties. And I left. And that was so satisfying to say that. So obviously my parents came around and went from you're not qualified to you're our agent and we won't do anything without you. But that took a while. I had to pay my dues to get there. But anyways, I never wanted to be a property manager, didn't enjoy property managing, wasn't something I thoroughly enjoyed, but I paid that due so that I could go to the next step of being a real estate agent and a high level and high producing real estate agent for clients in my portfolio and for new properties and new opportunities. And then I said to myself, man, it's really hard to find these properties. What if I started building a few of them? What if I started finding land for a few of them? And this pushed me into starting to look for land and starting to look for builders, starting to look for financing for duplexes and 4-plexes. I thought, man, if I can find a ratty 4-plex from 1968 and sell it to these guys and package it up, what could I do with some brand new ones? And man, how fun would that be to find the land and get it prepped and approved and build it? and then be the seller. And again, here I am. Remember, I started here and I wanted to be a real estate agent and have property management clients and own a few properties. I did all these steps to get to here. Well, this became the new standard over here, right? Now I want to find someone that finds land. I want to entitle property. I want to get them approved through the city processes. I want to find financing. And then I want to either be the builder or be a construction manager for these projects so I can offer this great stable of clients new properties. So gosh, I reached this spot, which was over here before. It's over here now. Now I'm going to reach this frontier over here. This is the new frontier. This is the growing. We never stop growing. We never stop pursuing. We never stop inventing. And this is what I like to refer to as the quest for more, the pursuit of more. If you don't have the word more in and around your mindset, you're not ever going to have more. More. You can't ever be good enough. You can't ever have enough. You can't ever know enough. You're either growing or dying. Tony Robbins says you're either growing or dying. At all times, everything in the universe is growing or dying. And this is the quest for more. So all of a sudden, I'm over here. I've got property management. I've got real estate clients. I've got all kinds of cool things happening here. And the next frontier is I want to find land, develop, build, entitle, and work with builders and partners. And this is basically going to be new product to feed this over here. So I'm kind of creating my own economy. We're going to have a podcast in the future on how to create your own economy, how to create all the pieces so that you're the producer, you're the offering, you have the client base, and everything that you need to be successful is your own creation so that you can succeed without a lot of support and help and input from outside sources. So in this gap here, I said, man, what do I got to do? Well, I thought, well, first thing is I need the help of some realtors. So I had been in the business now a couple of years, and at my 3-year mark, I got my real estate brokerage, bought a RE/MAX franchise, 27 years old, bought a RE/MAX franchise, built that to 17 agents, and we had regular meetings on, we got to find land, we got to find entitlement ground, we got to find people that want to come in and put land together so we can put together subdivisions, and in talking to builders on how you build duplexes, 4-pluses, and 6-plexes, all of them sold homes, all of them built and sold homes. And they were so impressed with what I was doing here that it was a natural graduation for them to say, hey, Mike, I sell about 20 homes a year. The guy that I'm doing it with, or the gal I'm doing it with, just, they don't look at anything. They don't look and sound anything like you do. Mid-20s, and builders are starting to talk to me about selling their stuff. I mean, I'm not pursuing them. They're pursuing me, right? I've created this energy and enthusiasm around me. People come to me and I'm like, heck yeah, I'll sell your new homes. So all of a sudden I create that little avenue, which was if I want to have builders and manage builders and potentially become a builder to do all this stuff, it made sense for me to sell new homes for builders in new subdivisions. So I would sit there and then I'd sit with these builders in meetings on how they found the new subdivisions. I'd work with them in the interface between them and whoever the developer was that found the land, got it through the city. And we waited and waited and waited until it was approved at the city so we could sell it. I had ready, willing, and able buyers waiting for this to come out of here. I'd be like, come on, what's taking so long to get the subdivision? I started going to city meetings. So if we had a subdivision that had to go on a preliminary plat from planning commission to city council, then a final plat, planning commission, city council, public hearings, both places, and then back to oftentimes staff or development review committee for a final approval, I'd sit there and I'd go in and watch these meetings. So I knew exactly where it was because I had a list of buyers, and I sat there and thought, in paying my dues and working with the builder, in paying my dues with providing great information and updates to my builder on where the subdivisions were, the light went on. I was mastering the moment that I was in, working for clients, creating a client base to buy homes, representing builders, getting projects listed, and doing that in a very mindful and professional way. The light went on. I could find the land. Why does this guy find the land? I looked on the MLS for what he paid for the land. I looked at the price that he was selling it to us for, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Well, I'm saying, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. So again, property management, stable of clients, buying and selling as an agent, and myself, by the way, I started doing these for myself. I wasn't just selling properties to people. I was taking them down myself. So we got this, and the next frontier is over here. Got a real estate license, got a real estate brokerage. I started attending city meetings on a regular basis. I started seeing and learning the process. vicariously, just watching. Gosh, you can go to the city meetings if you want. If you have some impetus, if there's some drive, if there's some passion anywhere in you, that's something that you could do very easily. Anywhere in you, you can do that. And by the way, I learned at that point, gosh, why am I not doing that? I see raw land all the time. I don't understand necessarily how to develop it, how to put it together. And all of a sudden I thought, oh my gosh, I should be a developer. I could be a developer. Why am I not a developer? And these guys that I'm watching at city meetings, they're pretty darn cool. But I could do that. I certainly could do that. And this wasn't, again, me standing over in Egypt saying, hey, I want to do this. This is me doing all these small incremental steps that I was mastering each step along the way. And so it became a natural desire and an easy conclusion that I'm close enough to understanding this, I could be a developer. So I immediately find my first piece of property, take it through the city. It's a little house on a corner, had a big lot behind it. I subdivided a lot off the back, got it approved at the city for a twin home lot, which is an owner-occupied duplex. So each side it's an attached building, party wall in the middle. Each side a different person owns and lives in. Put that together, did that deal, offered it to one of my builders. They immediately snapped it up. I got the commission on the land and the house going in. I got the land profit. I got the entitlement profit. I got the development profit. And then I sold it to a builder and I got commissions to sell to the builder. And then I made the builder list the two properties with me and got the commissions for those too. And I thought, I'm hooked, man. I am in. I'm hooked. Isn't that interesting to see how many years later, the guy that bought the little house on the corner, subdivided the lot off the back, did that little process right there, has a 27-acre project with 750 plus units going right now. Is that interesting? Have you paid your dues? Are you taking the steps along the way? So I did that little deal, and some of the developers I had been watching, interestingly enough, had gone through some of the same city meetings and cycles, and it wasn't lost on me that I was doing this little house with 2 units on the back. We're going to subdivide that, and they were doing 35 lot subdivisions. They were doing 70 lot subdivisions. That wasn't lost on me at all. And at the same time, I'm selling all these new homes for a couple of builders, and they're constantly squawking, we need more land, we need more land, we need more lots, we need more lots. And I remember this was something that really ticked me off. I did this little deal, and the builder that ended up buying this wasn't one of the builders, my prominent builders, because this was just too small for them to do one set of twin homes, right? It was too small. So I went to them and I said, hey, I'm going to start finding you land. I'm going to start finding you land and doing the lots. And he looked at me like, what are you, an idiot? Are you an idiot? Like this look of incredulous belief. And again, I'm 26, 27. I'm in 27, 28 years of age. And he's looking at me, and that's all I needed was that look from him. Like, okay, maybe not, Mike. Maybe not. So that was the rocket fuel in that moment. Oh yeah, you're not sure I can do that? You're not sure I'm qualified for that? You're not sure I know how to do that? Watch me. So I went out and found my first piece of land, started the process to turn it into 35 lots. This would have been a great subdivision for him, by the way. And I could have sold all of the houses very easily, but I went to a different builder and made the deal with a different builder. And the builder I had been working for heard about it, and he was kind of frustrated. Why didn't you tell me about that deal? Why didn't you offer me that deal? And I said, and you mentioned that I told you I wanted to find lots and I was going to entitle them and get them subdivided and developed, and you had no interest. You told me you had no interest, and you said, you remember you said to me, you'd rather I focus on selling your homes. Well, guess what? I went and did that, and you didn't even notice a difference in my performance on your homes and your subdivisions and the product that I was selling for you. Didn't even know that it was happening. And guess what? I'm a developer now. So I'm a developer now, and I'm going to put projects together. If you're interested in the future, let me know. If your mind changes that, hey, you want to bring some deals in, let me know. Well, interestingly enough, he went from very frustrated to, I got a call. This must have been a month or two later. He called me and he said, hey, I found a 21 lot subdivision. There's a guy that has 300 homes. He's having trouble selling this lot. He had 300 lots. And he's having trouble selling the last 22 homes. Do you want to come in and be a partner with me? So they were quasi entitled that I want to put up the money to buy them. And I said, sure. Yeah, let's talk terms. So we were going to buy the pieces of property, all the lands, once they were entitled and approved and recorded at the city. we'd do the development on them. We were going to buy the lots. We each put up half of the capital. We knew what the construction financing was going to be. He put up half the capital and got the building fees. I put up half the capital and I got the commission from buying the land between the group. And then I got the commission from this home sale of all 22 homes. And then on top of that, we split the profit 50-50. He put up half the capital, I did. So I went from a few years earlier being the realtor that he sought out to just sell homes and make a commission. I now had a commission on a big land piece of 22 lots was a big deal back then for him and me. And he did some bigger stuff, but that was a big deal for him. I got half the land profit. We didn't get the entitlement profit. I got half the land profit and I got all the commissions. And this was now very cool to me. And my steps, you can see how I'm incrementally getting these steps moving forward. Well, in creating this little process, this 7-step process that I shared with you about paying your dues, in getting into the middle of that and seeing each step happen, unbelievable process. So let me tell you, I got in near my end of my 23rd year, just before my 21st birthday, and between the year that I was at the end of my 27th year, turning 28. Let me tell you where I stood because I was willing to pay my dues. At that time, I owned a property management firm. It had extensive background in property managing. And by the way, that at that time, I didn't property manage anything. I managed people who managed property. Let me say that again. I managed people who managed property. Next, I was a realtor. I had a real estate agent, real estate license. Next, I was a small property owner. I had 40 doors at the time, 40 or 50 doors. And I think I might have had, 15 properties, none of them super big, or 14 properties somewhere in there. But it was really cool. And by the way, once I started selling lots to this builder and I'd watch how they performed, I thought, man, I can do that too. And I went and got a building license. So this time I had a building license as well. So I was a small property owner. I was selling new homes, understood that thing, ran that thing like a clock. Owned a real estate brokerage. Again, in my 27th year, bought a Remax franchise and built that up to, in a small town of 17 agents, who were the largest producing brokerage in the rural areas of Utah. And our franchise was fantastic. And then we started providing lots on subdivisions for builders, entitlement, development offerings. I got my builder's license, as I mentioned. We started doing development financing, construction financing, capital raising. And this was in, wait for it, this was in about 4.5 years. This is about 4.5 years that I went from mowing lawns at BYU, being told by my dad that I wasn't qualified. 4.5 years, I went from that to that list of accomplishments that I told you about. And we were just on our way. We were just getting started, right? We were just getting started. Over the next 10 years, we went from 40 to 50 units to 650 homes and apartments. 40 to 50 units to 650 homes and apartments. And now, wait for it, 10, 15 years later, we're doing one project that was bigger than the portfolio that we had by my 38th birthday. By my 38th birthday, I had 650 homes and apartments in a number of states with 20 developments going. Now I have one project that I'm a partner in, and I found and entitled, my office did, Summa Terra Ventures did, we brought in a builder. Now we have one project that was bigger than my entire portfolio was back in my late 30s. Think about that a second. Guys, there's massive growth. There's amazing opportunities if you're willing to pay your dues. But again, you have to be willing to get in there and take these steps. Excuse me. You have to be willing to take these steps. Pay your dues. Pay your dues. Be willing to pay your dues. And you can find the results here. So one of the ways you can pay your dues is listen and participate. And again, having traveled from where I was then to where I'm at now, there's all these gaps. That first gap that I told you when I wanted to get into real estate and I wanted to do that first little bit, this gap here happened. And then this became this. And then the new gap was here. And then I moved to here. And then this came here, new gap. And now from where I started to where I'm at was full of all kinds of amazing steps and journeys and successes and some failures too. And sometimes the failures were better teachers than what we learned in the successes. If we were humble enough to ask the same question from Matthew 19:20, what lack I yet? What am I missing? What did I miss? Where can I be better? How can I get better? So that's the whole point of paying your dues. And I'll tell you, do something. Err on the side of action. Take action. Integrate. If you're interested in real estate and interested in any of the steps along the way here, and we'd love to help you out, we'd love to be a sounding board for you. Reach out to us. The other thing that we do now that's really unique is we allow capital partners to come in and they participate in these transactions. So instead of standing here and saying, hey, I'm going to buy or sell or flip a house, and I want to be the master developer on big projects, that's quite a gap. But you can kind of jump the line in a sense if you put some private capital in one of our deals, wait for it, as a partner. So you come in and participate, you have a role, you vote, you talk, you learn. So there's some ways around that to take the big, long process to get there. But again, I'm going to go back to, by my 28th birthday, I had done so much. Some things sometimes people don't accomplish in careers because I follow that 7-step program that we talked about early in the podcast here. So guys, again, the whole point of this, and I want to go back to who we are and what our DNA is in this podcast, common things, uncommon ways. It's very common to want a little bit more in your life. It's very common to want to get in real estate by people or whatever business you're in. It's very common to want to take steps to the next area. It's very common to do that. What's uncommon is to do that 7-step process, the uncommon way. The uncommon way is to do that 7-step process, set yourself up, will yourself to get there, surround yourself with the right people, never have enough, push forward, work your guts out. Don't be allowed to be told no. Those are the things that happen. That's what can make you uncommon. That type of growth in 4.5 years is not unheard of. And you certainly could do that. Whatever it is that you want to do to improve, that process is available to you. Pay your dues. We'll see you next time.